The Maple Leafs turned things around to beat the Flames, but now they have to reset quick as they have an interesting game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, David Morassutti, and joining me, he's getting the call from the bullpen. He's giving me a Chris Bassett performance, we shall hope. Candid Frank Stanisci. Frank, thank you once again for hopping on.
Thank you for having me. And
Yeah,
I'm just hopping over the boards like all those Hall of Famers over there.
Yes, lovely picture of the square there. I just want to remind everybody that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, I don't know if anybody used Gametime to go and watch the Jays play in LA because the Jays did end up tying the World Series. But maybe some of you used Gametime to go and watch the Leafs play at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. I did appreciate that early start time because I was able to watch the Leafs before the Jays and had to do a little bit of a split screen when that started because the Leafs, I thought, were going to have it kind of in the bag easily with the way that they were kind of playing against the Flames in the third period. And Calgary scored late to make it interesting, so I had to kind of keep an eye on that while the Jays were happening too. But Frank, I would say a pretty tidy win for the Leafs. It wasn't perfect. Not every game is going to be perfect, but I thought it was a much better effort against, a team that you should beat.
The problem always seems to come right now. And first, I want to preface before I start criticizing or whatever. What I want to preface is that we have a team with a lot of different players on it. There's a lot of changes going on. And we all know that thing that, the way the team's supposed to play is now different than the way they used to play. Dump and chase, and I don't think they're really used to it. And one of the other problems that they have is defensively, for some reason, they need to be better in making it harder for the other team to score while they work hard to score. We're seeing too many goals that the other team has basically a guy alone on the goaltender. And that's the negative thing that came up with Calgary. And I think that's the only reason why Calgary was even close.
Yeah, I think, look, I understand it's frustrating to see a team with the talent like the Leafs have the struggles that they've had, but we've talked about this is all part of shaping and forming a new way for this team to play. And the way that they play, it's not pretty hockey. It is very much a grind style. I know a lot of people say, well, it doesn't look a lot like what the Keefe Leafs look like. It's not supposed to, right? That it's built on having, a simplified approach, grind forecheck, as you said, dump and chase, right? I mean, it was really apparent when you watched that game against the Devils last week where it was all about, for the Devils, it was all about speed and all those things. I don't think that the Leafs have to understand that, yes, they got guys that can skate and play with some pace, but they got to be careful of, and I think, Berube will talk about this too a lot, is the short shifts, being disciplined with those things, not being caught, right? Because that can come back to bite you. Against Calgary, I looked at that start and I was like, oh, are the Flames the Flames really bringing the pace? They were really crashing the net, and the Leafs had a hard time with it initially. Like, you look at the first goal that Morgan Frost scored, Nazem Kadri danced through almost every Leafs player on the ice. Nobody laid a hit. Everybody was reaching out with their sticks, trying to poke at him. And I'm like, you can try to lay the body. I'm sure Craig Berube was probably like, you guys want to hit someone or you want to just let them walk through untouched? I don't think that's Craig Berube hockey at all. And I think that's where I think people need to understand, that's not what Craig Berube wants from this team. And, I get it. You're trying not to get yourself out of position by throwing a hit. But when you reach and you overskate a player, it also puts you out of position. So I don't think it was the best of starts. Stolarz had to be sharp, especially early on, and he was. I thought this was a better game for him. I think maybe he would have liked to have had
The second goal.
the second goal back. But again, it's one of those things where, okay, if you're going to make those mistakes, you got to come back and you got to make the other team pay. And I think that's what the Leafs did better. The forecheck the Leafs had in this game was way better than I've seen them have in a lot of games this season, because that's how you get your possession. If you're going to struggle to go up and down the ice, you got to force turnovers so you can take advantage of, the other team is thinking maybe I can get out of the zone and catch the Leafs flat-footed. Well, the Leafs, they did that to the Flames. And how many times did they strip a puck from a defender or someone, and it's like, and the defenseman's going, I got no backup. Like nobody's around to help me. That was apparent for the Domi game winner where I can't remember who gave it up, but it was Uyghur was the last line of defense, and he's like, I got like 2-3 Leafs I got to cover here. Who's gonna help me? But that's what the Leafs did. The Leafs, they are capable of getting those takeaways and turning that into offense. I think that's something you're going to see a lot of from them this year. They need to do more of that.
They need more goals from Domi.
Yes.
There's places that goals have to come from. Matthews' percentage of putting the puck in the net after shooting has to rise.
Yeah.
He can't afford this. This is about him wearing that C and giving some leadership. And right now, because he's not scoring at a high percentage of his shots, it's not that he's not getting shots. That's the thing that is it's a two-edged sword. I'm not going to worry because I'm getting the shots, but they're not going in. So it's a two-edged sword. And the thing about Berube's defensive style, the key, the key to puck, chasing is you shoot it in, and then you got to chase the puck. You got to be there first. You got to get there, or if you're not first, beat the other guy to the control of the puck. And the other thing is, with this kind of game, there needs to be an understanding where they got to dig that extra bit to get between the goaltender, their goaltender, and the player with the puck. There's too much chase going on the other side of the ice, and that chase is not working out well for them. So for me, defensively, what the Leafs have to do is they got to steal a couple of steps and get in front of guys without make it harder. I said that before, and I'll keep saying it. It's all about making it harder for the other team to score. That's the definition of defense.
Well, look at the goal. It was the second goal by Nyes. Tavares and Matthews absolutely hounding for the puck. And they that's what they need to start doing. You got to start doing those simple, like, it's going to be ugly. It's not going to be pretty, but it's effective, right? When it comes to Matthews, I think the big thing here is, yes, he's got to do more, but I think the players around him also need to. This is why if you get Domi scoring, if Nyes is scoring, if all these other guys are scoring, teams then can't just say, all right, we'll try to shut down Austin Matthews. And if we shut down Austin Matthews, the Leafs don't have a chance. If the attention is solely on Matthews, it makes it a lot harder for him to be effective too, because it's a lot easier for teams to say he's their best goal scorer. We're going to try to mitigate him. But when the other guys are going, like, look, Max Domi, I guarantee Dustin Wolf on that fourth goal was not expecting Domi to shoot that. Or if he was expecting to shoot, he didn't. He was kind of cheating a bit. If Max Domi starts shooting, we kept saying if he starts shooting, it's going to lead to good things. So I think that's something we saw some of those good things happen because they're playing more simple. They're playing within their means. We'll take a quick break because we do want to highlight some of the key performances from last night and our 3 stars of the game. And then we'll look ahead. The Leafs are right back in action tonight. They got the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll see what if probably I'm not expecting changes, but we'll see if there's going to be any changes. We'll discuss that here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. Let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in the queue, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before the checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. If you're looking to get tickets for the game against Columbus, you can go and check out Game Time. You can get seats in minutes. You don't pay any hidden fees at checkout, and you can see what your view is like right before, what's going to be like at your seat. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25, although you're probably not going to find that in Toronto, but in other markets, you will definitely find that. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Let's go. Welcome back to the Locked On Leafs podcast. David Morassutti, and joining me over the bench, out of the bullpen, however you want to call it, is my friend Frank Stanisci. Mike was unable to record today, so Frank, once again, always willing and able to step in, which I appreciate. And we're going to continue looking at the Leafs' victory over the Calgary Flames. We talked about maybe one notable performance. Frank, would you say Max Domi was earning of the top of the first star of the game, or do you have somebody else in mind?
I would put Domi second, Nyes first. But
Nyes first?
But I can see the temptation to put Domi first is because it was surprised what he did, and it's something we've been waiting for. Domi playing well means that when Nylander goes up and plays with Matthews to help Matthews' game improve, means the second line doesn't fall flat, right? So the more that Domi can contribute, the more Nylander isn't missed on the second line, and the more improvement Matthews can look forward to. And you could either one. I wouldn't disagree with you, but those two were nip and tuck for me.
I do think you're right. I think Matthew Nyes. I thought that him and Tavares were really good. That second line was really good last night. And Domi did get bumped up, but I thought Nyes set the tone in a lot of ways. I mean, look, he continues to do the things that Craig Berube wants. He is the total Craig Berube player. Craig Berube wants you to crash the net. He's going to go crash the net. Craig Berube wants you to shoot. He's going to shoot, right? Play defense. He could play defense. Like Matthew Nyes is that player right now for this Leafs team. And
hard on the puck too.
Yeah.
And hard on the puck.
And I thought John Tavares was good too. I thought I think you could probably say the Nyes Tavares pairing, the duel there, were pretty good last night. But I thought Nyes certainly led the way.
And David, the key for Tavares is this kind of game is better for him because it doesn't rely on speed. It relies on positional play and puck hounding. So it's a better game for Tavares.
Yes. Tavares' game is built on possession. If you can cycle the puck, keep possession, that's his game, right? He thrives on that. And that's why I think right now the Nyes Tavares combo is working so well, because they feed off each other. They do a lot of the similar things. And then it doesn't really matter who the third person is on that line. Domi at one point, he got bumped up there. We saw that. Michelli's played well up there. I think at one point, Easton Cowan has gotten some time up there as well. But I've liked what I've seen from that Nyes Tavares duo. Maybe it's something they continue with, even when guys start getting a little bit healthier, maybe they continue with that run with that duo.
Yeah, I like Michelli because there's an investment there. This guy's an inventive little player. He's Marner light, and the more he gets to know the players and the more the players get to know him and what he can do, I think the better he's going to be and the team's going to be. Going back to the early comment that this is a team that has a lot of strange introductions required. There's an adaptation that needs to take place. And hopefully for Leaf fans that it happens sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Second star, you already said Max Domi. I would agree with you. Like he was deserving of one of the top 2 stars. Again, I think, yes, there's work to be done defensively with Max Domi? Absolutely. But when he is able to be that type of factor offensively, you will take some of the defensive shortcomings. He needs to keep shooting the puck. Nothing says that more than when you have a 2-goal game, and it's because you are showing that you can shoot it. And that's the frustrating thing with me when it comes to Max Domi is he can shoot it. I'm sure Craig Berube has told himself how often, and he said it. I've told Max, you need to start shooting the puck, right?
Absolutely.
You look at the first goal. He was initially looking to pass. He was looking, and then decided to hold. And what does he do? He waits for a bit of traffic to go to the net. The defender tries to get the stick in front of the shot, and that probably is what fooled Dustin Wolf, is he can't really see where that puck is going, and just again beats the goalie with it was a great shot, and he has to start using it more.
And what the important thing about him shooting more and being more effective offensively, in the case of last night, what that ends up doing, it ends up creating a concern for the other team with him defensively. So they're not cheating up the ice and making it harder to defend. Now they're more concerned about what might happen in their own end. So, it's the Inga Hammerstrom thing where, Ballard used to say Inga Hammerstrom's a guy who can go in the corner with 2 eggs and come out with a dozen. The fact is, though, when you have the puck and when you're controlling play, that is a defensive advantage. So if Domi can increase his offensive contribution to this team, it means that other players will have a chance to be more successful as well, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if you have a couple of lines that are playing real well, then those bottom 2 lines only have to be 0. They just have to even things out. And then when they do score, it becomes more impactful. That's teamwork.
Yeah, but that's it, right? It's if other guys are finding ways to contribute and being a part of a win, I think I do think that it comes out. The Leafs come out on top, and it will come out on top more than they have. Like Max Domi, if this is a sign of things to come, he might get a bump up in the lineup at when Scott Laughton comes back. He might be a fixture in the top 6.
Well, one of the biggest problems the Leafs have right now is penalty killing, and the whole thing of Laughton was he was to take over the Marner penalty killing minutes, right? That's who they plan to do it. So that we haven't had a chance, and the team hasn't had a chance to see what the penalty killing looks like. Laughton, I know we've seen before, we've looked before, but now we're talking about him on his own with whomever the Leafs put on beside him. So that's another thing that's a key injury to me. That guy, they miss him in that regard, in penalty killing,
and just having a more balanced lineup. Third star, I had Jake McCabe. I just think he's after a rough game, the first game without Tanev, or even just ever since Tanev left, he had to kind of change things up a bit, right? And he understands now. I think his roles changed with Tanev out. I think he's been better. I think there's still areas he needs to work on, but I thought last night he continues to find a way to adjust so that he is helping whoever his defense partner is. Last night it was Simon Benoit, and I think playing with that physicality is what this team needs from him.
I liked what he said not yesterday's game, after the other game where he threw that punch, where he said, "You know what? I think it's time for me to take a step forward and be physical." And I think our team is not being physical. So somebody has to get the ball rolling. It might as well be me. I'm paraphrasing, but I think I'm paraphrasing kind of accurately, where he was just saying, I got to take a leadership role here. And when he does that, like you said, that's the reason why he makes the other players better. I'd like to also give a little nod to Nylander, who, the beginning of the year, there was some questions about his willingness to play, and his goaltender called him out. He looked really good last night. That goal where he was, hounding the puck, and he made that little tip so Nyes could score the goal. That was a great assist on him, because it wasn't pretty. It was hard work. And Nylander is so talented that if he works hard, a lot of that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, and I do think that, guys are finding ways to. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments being thrown at this team. I think they're still struggling a bit to understand what their identity is right now. But yeah, I think I look at the last couple of games against Buffalo and Calgary. Look, they're close, right? They needed to win them near the end. We wouldn't come to expect that with this team, but we also know that the October is a slow month for this team. It always has been. They're always, because every coach is making changes. The lineup's different. You guys are working their way in, and I think they're trying to figure out what's the best way to get this whole group to mesh together, right? And look, have all the best players played at their best? No. But once you start to see them playing at their best, we see what this potential of this group can be. But I still think, there's still another gear that they need to reach.
Oh, they need it real bad. Their first of their 16 first games, 12 are at home. So that means they're going to have to do 12 of 16 on the road to balance it out. So
they're gonna
get their stuff together.
Yeah, they're definitely going to hit a patch where they're going to have a lot of road games. Well, they do have a road game. It is tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So what do we need to see from this Leafs team on the second half of the back-to-back? We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues here. David Morassutti with my friend Candid Frank Stanisci. You can go see his work over at Candid Frank Live. You can just search that on YouTube, and I think it's Candid Frank 1030 on YouTube, Frank.
Yep.
So you can go and check out his stuff. He's doing shows almost every day, covering Leafs, covering Jays, covering lacrosse. If you got something, CFL, if you got something, Frank is covering it. So you can go and listen to it. If you like to listen to Frank, you can go listen to more of him there over on YouTube. The Leafs they got to get right back at it tonight. They don't get a break, and it's their second back-to-back in the next little. They had a back-to-back against Buffalo. Now they got a back-to-back against Columbus. And it's the only game tonight, only hockey game. So, yes, there's also a baseball game tonight, right? The Jays do have Game 5 on tap. And there's no change. A little surprised that they did not change the start time for this game. This is a 7:30 puck drop. So there's definitely going to be some TV jumping up and back and forth a little bit for people who want to watch both. Or
you go to a restaurant like I do, and you have a TV up and a TV below it.
Yeah, it might be your best bet if you want to watch both games and not want to do the channel surfing. Go to a bar, find a way to get two screens in front of you. It's funny because the NHL in their preview, like Maple Leafs Blue Jackets, alone in the spotlight. I'm like,
don't think so.
Technically in the NHL, yes, but not in reality. Because
not in the world of Toronto.
Not in the world of Toronto and Canada, that's for sure. All 32 teams also did play on Tuesday night as part of the NHL's on-ice frenzy.
Yeah, they had 15-minute increments. The game started in 15-minute increments.
Yeah, so that was part of the reason why the Leafs started earlier too. I think it was also if you end the game early, gives the Leafs a chance to get on the road a little bit quicker for that one. Now, obviously, the Columbus Blue Jackets have not been too kind against the Leafs when you look at
history.
Now, that's more of recent history. Obviously, if you look at the overall record, Columbus 21-20-1 and are 9-11 at home all time against the Leafs. But we did see a few, let's say, unfortunate results last year between
the core four history with Columbus. Not pleasant.
No, not very pleasant at all. But the Columbus Blue Jackets are struggling to start the year. And this was a team that a lot of people saw as a big push forward candidate, right? A lot of people said this is a group that can really push for, take the next step in trying to be a playoff, a consistent playoff team. Well, right now they're sixth in the Metro, which doesn't sound great, but it's also they're not that far off. Like the Devils and the Penguins are. I mean, the Devils have been on a really good roll start the year. The Penguins better than expected. They have 16 points. Columbus has 10, so the gap isn't too far for either one. But Columbus has won 4 of the last 6 games against Toronto. They won 2-1 against them last year, and there are clear things I think if you're the Leafs going into this matchup you can take advantage of against Columbus. One of them being the penalty kill is the worst in the league at 63.3%. The Leafs power play is at 14.8%, 27th in the league. That's one area, Frank, if I'm the Leafs, they need to find a way to get better on the power play.
Absolutely. There's not much difference between these two teams. The Leafs are 5-4-1. Columbus is at 5-4. Right now, the division that they're in is really tough. So yeah, the Leafs power play. I think part of the problem they have is, again, it's adjusting. They had a quarterback back there in Marner. I know the name not to be mentioned, but so they've got to figure out a new way to create offense. And they still don't have David. Unfortunately for me, it's less about Marner, more about not having a defenseman that can get the puck through. That to me is the biggest problem they have, is somebody at the point that can shoot the puck and find that has eyes, that has the puck drop in front of the goaltender, and give guys like Nyes and Matthews, for that matter. That's their bread and butter. They've got to get the puck in the crease and loose. We saw that goal last night.
They got to do one of two things. They either got to get the penalty killers moving, so you set up a better shot for Austin Matthews on that side wall, or you get the puck to the net. Matthew Nyes has done a really good job of outmuscling whichever defender it is in front. Tavares is also should be doing more net front stuff. That's his bread and butter too, right? The guy on the blue line, the point, we've always talked about that being a big part of it too. Get pucks in, get traffic. It's simple stuff that I think that it just hasn't really computed yet with this team. And again, it's part of the reason why their expected goals is far down from what other top contending teams have done. They just have to they have to find a way to get this team to just do those simple things. It's not like we're not asking them to do something that they're not capable of doing. I think that's where the frustration comes.
The team is mired in a penalty power play negativity, and I say mired on purpose. They've got a defenseman there who's a shoot first defenseman. I don't know. They tried him in the exhibition season back there. I'd like to see him in there just because he has that shoot first mentality. He's the defensive version that wants to be like people want Domi to be. So,
I wouldn't hate if they tried OEL on the top pairing. And you know what? Somebody even told me, like, you should get that second unit out there a little bit more, because the problem is the first unit gets out there so much that not only do you allow a lot of those odd man chances because the top unit gets tired, but the second unit can take advantage of tired penalty killers because they got fresh legs. It gives them a different look. You can have Riley on the second unit, and he can kind of try to lead the charge if you need to there.
And your shift comment is really important. Early in the season, the Leafs had, it seemed every game they had 3 or 4 shifts that were 2.5 minutes long for somebody. I don't understand that, how they can end up being like that. And they're on the ice and they're tired, and it doesn't matter how good you are. How well can you be defensively if you're tired?
Yeah. No, for sure. No, and again, if with the power play, it's usually you try to get those chances early, because that's when you're at your best. That's when when your legs are fresh and all that. So, I got a sneeze coming. Trying to get a.
While you're
Sorry.
sneezing, I think what might help, and instead of having long shifts on the power play, if they can work it out that they can change that they change shifts instead of going one long first line power play in a short second, they go with three shifts. Try to do it in 3 45-second shifts and see what happens in that regard. They've got to do something. They've got to do something to surprise the defense so that they can do stuff and not be predictable. And that's the biggest problem I see with the Leafs on the power play. They're too predictable.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I do think that it's easy. Try to feed Matthews for that one timer. Take a shot at the point that's not really working. They need to show a little more variety. I think Nylander needs to start shooting it more too, but
yeah,
he holds it too long. He's got such a quick release. He's trying too hard to be perfect. Just get your shot off.
Or pretty.
Yeah, just get the shot away. And if you start, mixing it up between Matthews and Nylander, look, I get it. Austin Matthews is your top paid player, your top goal scorer. Nylander's not that far behind. Feed him too. He's got to be a bigger part of this power play too. So I think they got to show a little more variety there, in my opinion.
And if they shoot more, David, that'll lock the defense and the front two forwards penalty killing deeper in front of the net.
Yes.
They'll be afraid to abandon the net. And the way the Leafs play tells the other team, come and get us here. Come and get us here. And if they're not effective in that play where guys are coming out after them, then it's just basically the lane. There is no seam because you have a defender right on top of you.
Yeah, they really got to move. They really got to move the puck quicker too. I'll get the penalty killers guessing a little bit more. If you're not moving it quickly, if you're holding on to it too long on the power play, you don't want to hold on to the puck too long. The quick passes make the penalty killers struggle to be in positions to make the play to defend. John Tavares still stuck at 499 career goals. You think we see him reach 500, Frank? Because it really felt like he didn't really. I thought maybe yesterday would have been his best chance, especially with the net empty, but he didn't get out there really to mitigate that. Do we see number 500 for Tavares tonight?
Only because he's on the road and he had all his family there last night.
That must have been a very expensive. Actually, not as more expensive as Zane Parekh, the defenseman for the Flames. I think he had like 50 family members.
My goodness.
The guy on a rookie salary. I hope the family members were ready to pony up for that one.
Well, he played for free last night.
Oh, yeah. He just said, just give the check to the ticket box office, unless he had some connections. Which,
well, hometown kids. I mean, it's. I was thinking about that last night, saying to myself, it's really tough that a hometown kid in Toronto to have his family and friends come. Those are tickets. An Ottawa kid has a little more leeway on how much it costs, and a little more. Mm-hmm. It's less biting than it is being a Leaf or a Leaf visitor, I should say.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll see if there's anything. Maybe he has a few. I mean, it's not a far drive from Toronto to Columbus. There's a lot of Leaf fans that made the trip. I doubt Tavares is going to be bringing his family to every single road game while he's trying to get the record. I think probably, especially with the two kids, they're probably staying at home.
I think grandma and grandpa at least will be busy.
Yeah.
Maybe wifey can go.
Very possible. Very possible. We'll see how that goes. 7:30 puck drop on Sportsnet. You can watch the game there, and we'll react to the game. We'll see how that all goes, and we'll see. Are we going to get another double Toronto? Actually, the Raptors are playing tonight too, so are we going to get a triple dose of Toronto victories? It's been a tough go to get all three of them. Maybe one of them has to sacrifice for the Blue Jays. Maybe it can be the Leafs or Raptors.
Let's just narrow it down to let's have the Jays go home with a 3-2 lead and have 2 games to win the World Series.
Yes, love nothing more than to see the Dodgers.
But they're definitely going home. So that's
the World Series will be decided in Toronto for the first time since 1993. I wasn't even born then. So this is going to be.
And both the victories were on the road for the Jays. So,
Yeah. Well, no, 93 was at home.
Was it at home?
Yeah. Joe
Okay.
Carter.
Well, that's right. Yeah. He was at home.
Yeah. So we'll see if we get a very prominent Toronto result tonight. But that will do us here for the day on the Locked On Leafs podcast. I want to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can go and subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow myself at @D_Morassutti, and you can follow Frank at CanadFrank Live. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.